Spring is here, and the deals are hotter than ever at Shack Shop. Turn heads with stunning bikinis, now on sale. Explore the deep with cutting-edge underwater drones. Gear up for adventure with durable tents for every trip. Ride into spring with unbeatable deals on bikes. Fresh styles, women's fashion, and must-have looks, all discounted. Don't miss the Shack Shop Spring Fling Sale. These prices won't last. Shop now and make this spring unforgettable, only at Shack Shop.
Jennie Garth is revisiting a chapter of her life that feels both deeply personal and universally familiar, the kind of early love that blurs the lines between reality and imagination, especially when it unfolds under the bright lights of Hollywood. Decades after her rise to fame on Beverly Hills 90210, the actress is opening up about a formative emotional experience that shaped her both personally and professionally. At the center of that reflection is her connection with her late co-star Luke Perry, who played the brooding and irresistibly charismatic Dylan McKay. For millions of viewers, Dylan was the ultimate heartthrob, a symbol of rebellious charm and emotional depth. But for Garth, who portrayed Kelly Taylor, the connection went beyond scripted romance. It became something far more complicated. As she prepares to release her memoir, I Choose Me, Chasing Joy, Finding Purpose, and Embracing Reinvention, Garth is peeling back the layers of that experience, offering a candid look at what it felt like to fall in love while portraying love on screen. A love story that felt real, even if it wasn't. Looking back, Garth doesn't hesitate to describe Perry as her first true love. It's a statement that carries weight, not just because of their on-screen chemistry, but because of how deeply she felt those emotions at the time. In the early 1990s, 90210 wasn't just a television show, it was a cultural phenomenon. The cast became household names almost overnight, and their characters' relationships were dissected and adored by fans around the world. For Garth, who portrayed Kelly Taylor, meant inhabiting a character who was navigating complicated romantic territory, especially with Dylan. But as the storylines intensified, so did her feelings. What started as acting began to feel personal. The emotional intimacy required for their scenes, long conversations, vulnerable moments, and romantic tension, created an environment where the boundaries between character and actor started to dissolve. Garth has since admitted that she struggled to separate Kelly's feelings from her own. When Kelly fell for Dylan, Jennie found herself falling for Luke. The confusion of living between fiction and reality. For many young actors, especially those thrust into fame at an early age, distinguishing between performance and real life can be difficult. In Garth's case, that challenge was amplified by the intensity of her connection with Perry and the constant attention surrounding the show. She recalls feeling a sense of confusion that, at times, became overwhelming. The relationship she shared with Perry wasn't clearly defined. It existed somewhere in between friendship, attraction, and something unspoken. Adding to that complexity was jealousy. Whenever Perry's character interacted with guest stars or new romantic interests on the show, Garth found herself reacting emotionally, not just as Kelly, but as Jennie. Watching him flirt or form connections, even in a scripted context, stirred real feelings that she couldn't easily ignore. It wasn't just about what the audience saw, it was about what she felt behind the scenes. That emotional overlap created a kind of internal conflict. She knew logically that they were playing roles, but emotionally it didn't always feel that simple. A shared experience with millions, but intensified. Part of what makes Garth's story so relatable is that many people experience a version of this in their own lives. First love often carries a sense of intensity and idealism that can blur reality. But in Garth's case, that experience was magnified by fame, media attention, and the unique environment of a television set. She has even reflected on how Perry wasn't just her first true love, but also a shared crush for an entire generation. Everyone imagined him as their first love, she has said in essence, acknowledging that she was in many ways one among millions who were drawn to him. Yet her connection with Perry was different. It wasn't just admiration from afar, it was proximity, collaboration, and emotional vulnerability. That closeness made everything feel more real. Moments that felt bigger than the script. During the height of 90210, Garth and Perry shared numerous scenes that required emotional depth. Their characters went through breakups, reconciliations, and deeply personal conversations. These weren't surface-level interactions. They were intense and often intimate. Garth has reflected on how those moments contributed to her feelings. Spending long hours together, discussing emotional scenes, and building chemistry created a bond that extended beyond the script. There were conversations that felt genuine, looks that lingered a little longer than necessary, and moments that seemed to carry meaning beyond the characters. For a young actress still figuring out her own identity, it was easy to interpret those experiences as something more. And in her heart, she believed they were. The shift that changed everything.
As time passed, life began to move forward in ways that naturally reshaped their relationship. Both Garth and Perry entered into serious relationships outside of the show. Garth eventually met Peter Fasinelli while working on another project. Their relationship developed into marriage in 2001, marking a new chapter in her life. Perry, meanwhile, also found love and built a life of his own. Those changes had a grounding effect. The emotional ambiguity that once defined their connection began to fade. The intensity of youthful feelings gave way to clarity, and what remained was something steady and genuine: friendship. Garth has described this transition as a kind of emotional resolution. The confusion lifted, replaced by a deeper understanding of what their connection truly was, and what it wasn't. From romance to lasting friendship. In hindsight, Garth views her relationship with Perry as something meaningful, even if it didn't evolve into a frictional romance. She has emphasized that their bond was special, rooted in shared experiences, mutual respect, and a unique chapter of their lives that neither of them would ever forget. Rather than diminishing what they had, time allowed her to see it more clearly. What once felt like a complicated love story became a cherished memory. The intensity softened, but the significance remained. They stayed close over the years, supporting each other as friends and colleagues. And when Perry passed away in 2019, Garth, like so many others, felt the loss deeply. Understanding first love through a new lens. One of the most striking aspects of Garth's reflection is how her perspective has evolved. As a teenager, she fully believed in the reality of her feelings. The idea that her connection with Perry could be something lasting and transformative felt entirely possible. But with age comes clarity. Looking back, she recognizes that some of what she felt was shaped by circumstance, the environment, the roles they played, and the emotional intensity of that period in her life. She has even referred to it as a silly dream in some ways, not to dismiss it, but to acknowledge how youthful perception can amplify emotions. Still, she doesn't regret it. If anything, she values the experience for what it taught her about love, connection, and herself. Embracing the past without regret. Garth's willingness to revisit this story speaks to a larger theme in her life, embracing every chapter, even the confusing ones. Her memoir reflects that philosophy, choosing to learn from the past rather than rewrite it. The story of her connection with Perry isn't about what might have been. It's about what was, an intense, formative experience that helped shape who she became. And while it may not have followed a traditional path, it was real in the ways that mattered. Where she stands today. Today, Garth is married to Dave Iburns, and she continues to evolve both personally and professionally. Her reflections on the past don't overshadow her present. They enrich it. By sharing her story, she offers a reminder that love doesn't always fit neatly into categories. Sometimes it exists in gray areas, shaped by timing, circumstance, and emotion. And sometimes those are the experiences that stay with us the longest.